Hello there. Hi, my loves. Hello, my dear coven. How are you doing today? Welcome to another episode of the Witching Half Hour or so. I am your host, Jody Ann. I'm so glad to spend this time with you. We are just wrapping up the second season of this podcast. I cannot express to you how grateful I am for your listenership, for the time you spend with me in your earbuds. Thank you to everyone who likes, who follows, who downloads the podcast, to everyone who joins me every new and full moon here. Thank you. You make all of this possible. Today, I wanted to do something kind of fun. I hope it's fun for you. I wanted to answer your questions. So I'm going to call this Ask a Witch, because I get asked all kinds of things as an out-of-the-broom closet practicing witch. Before we dive in, do I have any housekeeping for you? I think the only housekeeping I have is to go to the website, jodyanpsychicmedium.com, and sign up for the newsletter. The reason I say this is I have a lot of new offerings coming out in the new year. I've got some things I'm working on, things I'm really excited about, and you don't want to miss those. You will get a monthly newsletter from me, a little bit of magic in your inbox, and do know that if I'm marketing, I will warn you. I respect your inbox. I'm not going to inundate you with tons of emails. You will get one email from me a month, a love letter. It includes the topics that will be coming out on the podcast, some info about what I'm dropping on YouTube, and it will have the special offers in it as it comes out. So do go sign up for that. It's the best way to know what I'm doing and just to keep in touch. That's also the email that you can email me back at so that you can ask me questions and find out more about what's going on and we can have a conversation. I think you all know that the podcast has its own Instagram. Please go over and follow at the Witching Half Hour or so on Instagram, and that there's a YouTube channel where I drop videos. Okay, now let's get into your questions. I do want to say that these are my answers to these questions. They are not all-knowing, all-powerful, omnipotent answers. They're my opinion. I'll tell you why I think what I think and why I feel the way I feel about these topics. You ready to dive in? I thought we'd start with, what is a witch? Like, really? I go around calling myself a witch, but what do I mean when I say that? Because, is there a difference between a witch and a healer, or a witch and a spiritualist, or a witch and a pagan? And yes, there is. So for me, I define a witch as someone who casts spells. Anyone who is using the elements and the energies and the ebb and flow to cast spells. If you were on a spiritual path, and you're a psychic or a medium or a healer or a Reiki master, if you are not calling a circle and casting a spell, I would not call you a witch. That's my definition. I believe that witches cast spells. That is what differentiates us from other pagans. Now, can you be a pagan and a witch? Yes, of course. And maybe we should talk about what makes you a pagan, right? So in the Venn diagram that is New Age spirituality, let's look at 3 buckets: healer, pagan, and witch. Because these seem to be the people who are moving and working with the energies. So for me, a healer is someone who practices an art of hands-on healing, whether that be Reiki or Sikkim or quantum touch or aura cleansing, any kind of energy healing work, moving of the energy in someone's aura or body. That is how I define a healer. A witch is someone who is using the elements and the energies to cast spells, to manipulate and judge the energy around their lifestyle to create and affect change, to change their world, to change their life, to change the fabric with energy work and spell casting. Now, a pagan, to me, that is a style of religion and spirituality. There are many paths that you could walk as a New Age pagan. There's all kinds of pantheons, gods, goddesses, ancient religions, reclaimed religions, all kinds of things, and even non-denominational, like worship of Gaia herself and the earth and nature. Are there many crossovers in this Venn diagram? Oh my goodness. Are a lot of pagans witches? Hells yeah. Lots of pagans cast spells and are witches. Do some witches practice without divinity and religion wrapped around their spells? Hells yeah. And are there healers who are pagan practitioners? Yes. Are there healers who are witches? Yes. The beautiful thing about this New Age pathway that we are on is that we get to explore all the shades of gray. All of them. Every single one of them. And we get the freedom to define our relationship with divinity and our relationship with the natural world around us. I also really, really enjoy the label of witch because for me it feels empowering. And that's because it is a term that has been applied to women throughout history who are breaking the rules, not doing what they are told, and who are feared by a patriarchal society that is trying to control women. You know I get political, loves. You know I get on this little soapbox. I reclaim the label of witch because it has a fear element attached to it. I wear it as a badge of honor because it does hold a power. In history, women who had agency over their lives were not attached to a marriage, who had healing arts that the predominant culture feared and wanted to control. They called them witches, and they persecuted them. We all know, right, that most of the witches burned at the stake, tortured, and murdered at the hands of inquisitioners were not practicing any kind of paganism at all. They were good Christian women. Just digest that for a minute. And I'll meet you at the next question. The next question, how do I know if I'm meant to read the tarot cards? How do I know if I'm psychic? My deep belief, and you will hear this many times if you've been in one of my teaching circles or if you spend a lot of time in the Earbud Coven, we all have the ability innately born in us. We are born powerful. We have the ability to connect to our guides, to our highest self, to divinity, to the essence of wisdom in this plane of the universe. We're born with it. We come here with it. We often suppress it through our culturalization and being raised just generally in this world. The way I like to explain this in my classes is to compare it to music, right? You can take any person, anyone off the street, you put them in front of a piano, you give them a piano teacher. They will learn piano. They will. They'll learn a few songs, they'll figure out the notes, they'll figure out the scale. If they dedicate themselves to it and have someone who can teach them, anyone can play the piano. Reading tarot cards, divination, getting messages from your guides is the exact same thing. Anyone can learn it. You are born with the ability to do it. It's just about honing the skill and honing the craft and exercising it and learning about it. Now, every once in a while in our world, we are gifted a beautiful musician. And I mean, we could talk about how Mozart is a savant, but I like to put it in a context we understand. So like every now and then, you get Elton John, you get Paul McCartney, you get people who understand music. No one gave them lessons. No one sat them down. No one taught them how to create songs that will make you cry or make you happy. They're just really good at music. And that's the same thing with energy work, psychic ability. We can all do it. Some of us are just born a little bit better at it. It doesn't make us super, it doesn't make us more amazing. Our gifts just lie in that area, and the world needs all of us. The world needs our musicians, the world needs our artists, it needs our healers, it needs our psychics, it needs our people who love books so much and have memories that are so intense that they can remember and record keep for us. Everyone's gifts are valid. Now, if you come to me and you wonder, how do I know if I'm a psychic or how do I know if I'm a witch? I've always wanted to learn. You're drawn to those crystals and you're drawn to those cards and you're drawn to this lifestyle and the aesthetic and the idea of connecting with your ancestors the same way that musicians like Elvis Presley were drawn to gospel churches where they sang, where the choir would sing, and to the R&B musicians and the blues musicians in his Mississippi town. He couldn't stay away from them. The same way you want to buy 100 tarot decks because you came here with this gift, my love. Does that make sense? I give you permission today, in this moment, listening to this podcast. If you have always wanted to learn tarot, if you have always wanted to take a healing class, if you've always wanted to see if you can connect, I give you permission. The very fact that you're curious proves that you're gifted. Hate stories and don't like books and don't want to sit down and read a book are not authors. Every author I know loves books. They have tons of them. So if you have a ton of crystals and if you desire to learn how to connect to your ancestors, to your spirit guides, to your angels, lovey, just go to a development class. You will shock yourself how good at it you are. The same with being a witch. If you want to know whether or not you are a witch, it's not about if you have a third toe. I guess everyone has a third toe. I think I meant to say a sixth toe. I think I'm going to leave that in. So it's not about having like a weird birthmark or anything. If you feel really drawn to working with the elements and working with the energies, then witchcraft is probably for you. You know, the brand that I practice, I'm an eclectic witch, but I do include spirituality in my practice. Some witches don't. So you find out what's good for you. Go to a moon circle. Reach out. Baby, you can even reach out to me. I'm here for you. My little earbud Kevin. That's why I do the podcast. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This is one that I really want to tackle, and I'm kind of going to cover a few topics in one. Okay, I feel like this is going to be more of an unpacking than an actual question answering. So the question I get asked, and what I do a lot of readings around for my clients is this my soulmate? Is this my twin flame? How do I know if this is my twin flame? How do I know if this is my soulmate? People look at astrology and they say, this is my sign, this is my moon sign, this is my rising sign. That means my twin flame sign will be blah, blah, blah. This is my opinion from sitting across the table with many, many people, doing many, many readings on relationships and people's love life and whether or not someone will come to them or whether or not this is the right relationship. I do not believe in twin flames or soulmates. Hang on, stay with me. Don't press stop. I do not think there is one person you are destined to be with. What I do believe is that there are people, both lovers and platonic, that come into your life, friendships, cousins, sisters or brothers, that we are deeply karmatically connected to, and we are working out things in our relationships with people in our lives, very significant people in our lives, that we are working things out on a multi-faceted level with those relationships. Is there any one utopian perfect relationship out there for you? And you can call me jaded if you want. I don't think so. Are there relationships that, should you join in with them from a place of free will, you will accelerate, you will learn more about yourself, that you are almost destined or fated to meet them because there is such a karmatic connection? Probably you've been in multiple lives with them. Yeah. But I don't think it's going to be a perfect utopian thing. And I also think that you could turn away from that relationship and your guides and your highest self and the wisdom that runs this beautiful plane we are on and learning in will find another way to teach you the exact same lesson that you would have learnt with that person. While I'm saying this, Lunabelle is walking around and I can hear her little toenails. I don't know if you can hear them. Now I know that is not the answer that most of you want to hear. Most of you want a list of what to check off to know someone is your twin flame. I do more readings on relationships than anything else, more than money, more than life path, more than career changes, more than anything. So I get it, love. We want to be fulfilled in our love relationships. And of course we want a person who matches our soul and aligns with our soul and catalyzes our growth as a human being. Who wouldn't want that? I'm not saying it's not out there. What I'm saying is, having done countless readings on love, is that every relationship teaches us something. Every relationship you are in and have been in, you are supposed to be in. There are actually no mistakes in this life. Even the things you think were the worst mistake of your life got you to who you are and where you are today. So it is successful, even if today is a really crappy day, because I believe that any story with you as the main character in it doesn't end crappy. It ends victoriously. And I know that because I know that if you're listening to this podcast, if you are in the Earbud Coven, you are someone who is on a healing journey. You are someone who is interested in using spirituality, manifestation, spell work, energy work, healing work to create an amazing life for yourself. I digress. Back to twin souls. So I also believe and can see when I read people's cards that every relationship that comes up in someone's spread, that comes up in their cards, that comes up in a reading, it is not destined to the point of you have no free will. It's very apparent when you do readings for people that our free will, our active choice in the matter, produces our reality and our life. And this idea of twin flame, it's like been romanticized and idealized by our culture to be almost like an uncontrollable draw to someone that you must be with, that being with someone else, with another human being, will complete your soul and make you whole. Baby, you are already whole. Anyone who tells you different is lying to you. You came into this world powerful and perfect. And all you have to do is step into your empowerment. It's all there. One of the things that really gives me, I don't even know what word to use, I guess like the icks or the heebie-jeebies about a lot of the memes and ideas in our conscious collective about twin souls is if you really look at what would define a twin soul relationship, a lot of it sounds like trauma bonding and Stockholm syndrome. Seriously, that Venn diagram is almost two circles on top of each other. The feeling of not being able to live or breathe or be without another person. Are you sure they're not love bombing you? Are you sure this is not an unbalanced trauma bonded situation? Check in with that. Look at that. There is no relationship, I truly believe with all of my soul, there is no relationship in this life that you can't walk away from. Even family of origin relationships, you can create boundaries around those for your own well-being. So the idea that you need another person to meet another soul in order to be a complete human, I just don't buy it. Because, baby, you're already complete. You already have your soul, your purpose, your power, everything. You came here with it. Baby, you were born powerful. Sometimes we forget how amazing we are, and we get some lessons that force us to stand in our power. But yeah. So it's not a popular opinion, but I'm here to be honest with you, not to blow sunshine up your butt. So, I also just want to touch on, just because I think twin souls are not the other half of your soul walking around that needs to come here and make you whole, does not mean that we don't have connections with the people around us. That we don't have multiple lives with the people around us. I happen to know that my daughter and I have been through multiple incarnations. One of my best friends and I have walked many lives together, and in this life, we are friends. And even when you look at some of the circumstances and some of the serendipitous things that align in order for you to even meet someone, let alone connect with them and become deeply bonded and love each other and be your ride or die person with someone, that person you call when the world is shaking apart, just because you have that bond with them. That bond is real. Like, that bond is real. And I'm sure many of the bonds we have like that go back through multiple lives. And we do a lot to incarnate with the people that are important to us and the souls that are in our soul family. My point is that the cultural idea that without your soulmate, this incarnation is not complete, I really do think is BS. They're selling you something that you don't need to buy, right? Okay, let's leave this topic. It's a big, heavy unpacking, and let's move on. Let's talk about tools. I get asked about tools, and actually I should probably just do a whole episode on tools. And what's funny to me is that when I sat and thought about it, the tool I use the most, that I use in all my spell work and is probably imbued with the most power on my altar is my disc. Traditionally, you would have an athame and a cup, maybe a bell, an incense burner, different things. But what I find the most useful on my altar is a plate. It's the disc. I use it to set candles on. Sometimes my offerings go on it, depending what I'm doing. If I'm writing stuff out or doing any channeling or journaling in my writing, I often fold it up and put it there. It's kind of like my workspace, because my altar becomes, when I'm doing spell work, my whole kitchen table. Because I live in a small space, I just move everything off my kitchen table, and that's where I cast my circle, and that's where I do all my magic. It's actually, I don't think I've ever had a designated room to cast in. I've never had that luxury. I've always had a disc that sits on my permanent altar. It holds candles and crystals when I'm not casting. And then when I have spell work to do, I use it. And it's such a humble little piece of equipment. And it's so easy to just pop in my witch bag when I'm going to a coven meeting with my coven. I've taken it to the woods. I've taken it to different clients' places. And it's nothing fancy. It's a disc. The idea of magical tools is when we designate something as magic and we use it over and over, it's imbued with a lot of power over time. So I think my altar disc is probably one of the most powerful pieces I have. It's the same one for 20 years. I have a secondary one that I bought when I was in Salem. And I think I've only been using that one for maybe 15 years. And I don't use it quite as often. And maybe it's my kind of fussy, tidy nature when I do magic that I like to have the things I'm working on in their own special little place. And that's what I use the disc for my altar plate for. I'll put a candle on it. I will, if I'm gathering a cone of power, that's usually whatever I'm charming or using or doing something with, it's usually laid out on that plate. And then I'll work with it or whatever. It's like a focusing point for energy work I do. Yeah. I think it could be argued that your athame is the most important piece because a lot of people use it to channel power through and to direct power. But I have broken so many of them in the past 5 years that I just don't use one anymore. If I need to use a knife for anything, I just use a kitchen knife. And if I'm directing energy and power, I typically use my hands now instead of a wand or athame of any kind. So yeah, my most important tool is the humbly, often overlooked altar dish. I hope you guys like this episode. This one was really fun for me. Most of them are fun for me, though. I have a lot of fun putting this all together for you. Thank you. Do the things, my love. Download it, like it, subscribe it. Leave me a review. Leave me a review. All these little things you are creating this community, this coven, the earbud coven that we are all in together. I love you so much. I hope the rest of your day is just, magical. Testing, 1, 2, 3. This is going to drive me freaking nuts today. How's this? Testing. Do some witches practice without divinity and